Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with it another exciting evening of intense racing action in the iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT as brought to you on the one and only premier sim racing platform available only on PC known as iRacing. We're back once again then to continue the story of the 2025 Season 4 campaign. And in week 5 of 12, we made our way to Spain for the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. Specifically, its historic layout, which will see drivers forego the final chicane on the circuit, but they'll still complete the majority of its 14 corners. And through it all, it is a circuit that is an absolutely tantalising test of technical ability. With corners ranging from sweepers to chicanes to hairpins and all in between, and also throwing an extended start-finish straight and some shorter segments, is a circuit where it's all about driver ability and how you can set up the car to maximise its potency when you are behind the wheel. There's no one right way to set up the car around here. It really comes down to driver preference and then being able to now lap after lap, and that's what's going to make this week's Top Split broadcast so intriguing as we welcome you all to tune in live from circuit side. But where are my manners? As you tune in, we say hello to a good number of you in the YouTube chat, and indeed a hello to you all there in the chat, available only on youtube.com, and search for TX11 TX or 30 Paul Walsh, and that's where you can be tuning in right now. In the commentary booth, you have myself. My name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX11 or Britain and Split, depending on what media you follow me on. Now we bring you all your racing action tonight, and indeed over each and every Top Split session for our regular 1945 Greenwich Mean Time or Universal Coordinate Time slot on Wednesdays. And speaking of tonight, well, of course, we've only got one race on our schedule on this fine Wednesday, the 15th of October 2025, and it is a 15-lap race due to get underway in approximately 4 minutes' time. But let's talk a little bit about our calendar so far and what's lying in wait as the qualifying session is still underway in the background. And as we can see, as we make our way into this round, last time out in week number 4, we're at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg circuit. And well, in Germany, we got to see some home heroes absolutely deliver because it was a 1-2 for German drivers, and it was Lewis Bierlecker who took the overall victory with a perfect Grand Slam. Pole position by a quarter of a second, led every lap, and brought it on home ahead a fellow countryman of Philipp Hammer who kept Bierlecker honest throughout, but could not close the gap. Meanwhile, third place went to Corey Lazarus, who survived a huge battle for third with Aidan Pohl and Gabriel Para-Gonzalez. But today we've got plenty of new faces on the grid as well as plenty of veterans, and it's going to be fresh faces here at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya, after which next time out, of course, we're going to be making our way to the United States of America for the first of 4 visits this season, and that'll be for the Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta. But speaking specifically about our circuit for today, well, of course, it is the historic layout of the Montmeló circuit near the city of Montmeló in the region of Barcelona in the Catalonian sector of Spain. And the Circuit Barcelona-Catalunya is no stranger to racing, where it being an open or closed cockpit, and indeed the European Porsche Cup Series normally visit the circuit on a regular basis, and most international major series also recommend going to this circuit for their drivers for testing, particularly in the pre-season, and also for balance and performance adjustments. But as our drivers get ready to go racing here today over this wonderful layout of a circuit, 13 corners in totality, as we can see for the fantastic circuit map available in the iRacing.com simulator, well, it is a complete mixture of corners and also plenty of elevation changes, which unfortunately can't quite be captured as well as they could in a 2-dimensional image compared to 3-dimensional pictures, which you'll be seeing very shortly. But before we go racing today, well, a quick reminder of the rules before we go racing. This is an open setup series with setups brought to each and every round by our drivers. Indeed, they can run whatever setup they want, so long as they can get to the finish. The grid shall be set via a closed qualifying session, which is currently coming to a close, with the race commencing via a standing start, as it's a tradition of the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT, and drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 70 or more instant points, and if they get to 25, they will be disqualified. But enough about rules and regulations, we're here for the racing, so let's make our way back to circuit and see how our drivers are getting on. And well, the fastest driver so far in this qualifying session is not quite Philipp Hammer. Indeed, he is only a 10th down on the fastest driver out there, and that is none other than Gun Testelen, who is looking incredibly quick indeed, as we do bring up those I ratings and those licenses there, and you can see the safety ratings and also what is the I ratings of our drivers as they all get themselves set to go racing. And we're absolutely brilliant to see so many drivers out there looking to go for gold today. And well, we do have our regulars such as none other Philipp Hammer and Gareth Higgins. Gun Testelen, he's been on the grid in previous seasons, but he's not been on the grid so far this season, so we look forward to seeing him out there. But we also have a few newcomers today, including on 3.4 thousand I rated, none other than Ellis Phillips, who makes his debut, and we look forward to seeing what he's going to be able to do, currently in 15th place on his final flying lap. as he roars his way into the final corner. And, well, what's it going to be this time for Phillips? Well, we'll see as he heads towards that timeline. And in the end, it is going to be, well, it looks like he's going to be staying in 16th because regular Carl McGuinness is there. But in fact, no, he finally comes up on the board and Phillips leaps to 6th place at a 44.975. And I think right now Carl McGuinness will be hoping for a bit more because he has picked up some great top 5 finishes this season. And also in qualifying, he's been regularly inside the top 10, but not here for certain. As we see another regular of Christian Carlson making his way on around. A big improvement there from none other than Faisal Bouayash, who's moved all the way up to 4th place. And, well, we also look to Kim Andre Bjørlund. And Bjørlund here right now on his cooldown lap. He's completed all his qualifying laps and he's just doing a bit of exploring on the circuit. I can imagine just trying to do a bit more familiarisation given the fact he's qualified in the second half of the grid or just about. But as we also do have the very colourful commemorative 75th anniversary Porsche livery machine of Vlad Bogdan making its way on around. Of course, the 75th anniversary of Porsche in motorsport being as of, I do believe, what was the 2024 year. Well, as Bogdan makes his way towards the pit lane, goes a little bit wide there, ends up on the Sosu curb. He won't be coming into the pits immediately, but he will most likely park the car up and make his way into the pits instead via a tow. But that's it for qualifying, ladies and gentlemen, and it is none other than Tastellen who has taken pole. That's good Tastellen, and he's taken pole position by only a 10th over Philip Hammer. And we can see that the 9.7k I-rated driver just outpacing the 9.5k I-rated driver, and there it's Gareth Higgins with 8.6k I-rated, who is rounded off that top 3. But I-rated or not, what's going to matter most is when the drivers do go battling out on the circuit. We can definitely see that whole medley of drivers really mixing it up, including the likes of Gianmarco Speroni, who's new to the grid, and he's made it into 6th place. But without further ado, let's make our way to that grid, shall we, and see how they got on over the course of our 15-lap race. So as they all make the way into their slots on the grid, this is how they'll line up for the Season 4, Week 5 of 2025 top split broadcast here for the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya. It is Gun Tastellen who has taken pole position, the Turkish driver, on a 43.766, pipping Philip Hammer to pole position, with the pole promotion esports driver only 1.2 tenths behind. Then it's Gareth Higgins, the Briton for Team 75, Bernard by Sim RC, who starts in 3rd place, ahead there of none other than Faisal Bouayash, where we can see the Lebanese driver having a decent run when it came to qualified, but it didn't quite work out the way he wanted it to. But in fact, we do seem to have a slight error with regards to what is our goodness me iRacing, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be right back there because I think there has been a slight technical hitch. We do apologise for this. We'll be right back. And we return in good time, ladies and gentlemen, because the lights are going on here for what is our race. So a technical issue is averted, and it is go, go, go for what is our week number 5 top split race. Our drivers roar the way away, and as they do so, well, Tastellen has a good start as they all make the way down towards turn number 1. And, well, liveries will load gradually, but right now what's loaded already is some incredible racing action as they all head the way into turns 1 and 2. Side by side there between Gareth Higgins and Bouayash. And, well, Higgins hold on to that 3rd place as they come charging up the hill, and as they do, we'll look a little bit further back. Gianmarco Speroni there, well, the 6th place starter falling down to 7th, but not for long here as he tries to fight back versus Ellis Phillips, but Phillips right now definitely not being able to get away with this one whatsoever. And, well, too wide they come down through turn number 4, but we can see already Faisal Bouayash trying to make a bit of a break here, although he's got Noah Roll, who's had a brilliant qualifying session, and having started 5th, makes his way up into 4th place around the outside. Too wide they exit out the corner, together. Brilliant respectful racing between all drivers here. And whilst our 3 leaders might be pulling away, everybody else is 2 by 2 as they head in towards the middle portion of the circuit here. It's incredible stuff. And Sergio Paule right now in 9th place just manages to get ahead of Kamil Karras. Going over the hill. Oh, it's gone wrong. Somebody's got out very wide. It's Buayash. Buayash is into the gravel there at turn number 9. Somebody's joined him there. That is Lewis Kenyon as well. So Kenyon and Ash both going sideways. And Alex Klotzer's also been involved in there. So I think there's a bit of a story. And we're going to get a replay of it when we can. And as we do come back to Kamil Karras, well, he's currently running 9th place with Fabian Ming for close company. And well, Ming is exactly where he started as Karras, meanwhile, gets it wrong at the break in there. In towards turn number 12. And the car goes spinning on around. And well, he brings himself back together, but he falls down to 17th place. He won't be too happy about that whatsoever. Jack Kraft, meanwhile, he's made some progress. 3 places gained since the start. And Kraft right now really getting into the meat of the battling. Although he has Wojtek Dowarek right behind him as they head on to the next one. The number 6 driver here looking up the inside. Can he go for the move under braking? And the answer is going to be yes, he can onto the brakes. He'll get that move done up the inside and he'll take that 10th place off of Kraft. Kraft now had to try and find a way back in him here as we make our way on board, looking back from the rear of our number 6 driver. 10th place runner, but Carl McGuinness is also behind Kraft, so it's a 3-way fight for 10th, and we'll be trying to bring Fabian Ming into that close if they can. If not, then we'll start to see the upper portion of the top 10 abscond away. Through turn number 4, and right now we had to go roll Marcus Speroni going sideways there, so Speroni getting it wrong at turn number 4, car sliding loose and it goes to rejoin. Oh goodness me, that's not the way you want to rejoin. Kamil Karras there to take to the grass, but thankfully just about survives it, but that could have been drama, no doubt about it. But speaking of drama, ladies and gents, it's not over yet before we cut to some replay footage, because Kim-Andre Bjørlund here, he right now is under a bit of pressure with Sergio Paule tucking in behind. These drivers, they're pushing each other to the limit, and Fabian Ming, he's under pressure here from what is Wojtek Dowarek in order to try and hold on to 8th place. Dowarek here has passed Kraft, of course. We saw that only moments ago. Kraft now trying to make it 3 wide here as they head up towards turn number 10. On the brakes will 3 go, but Kraft can't quite make it through the middle. And remember, there's, oh goodness me, there's a bit of contact there between Ming and Dowarek by looks things. And Ming is sent all the way to the ground. Dowarek now has to go defensive again, coming through 11, and as he makes his way over the crest, well, Kraft and McGuinness queue up behind, and Carl McGuinness here on full attack mode, albeit it doesn't seem to be working out for McGuinness at the moment. He's watching, he's waiting, but nothing quite is proving very salivating, and therefore he's going to have to continue to wait his turn. But down through the final corner they come for the second time of asking, and as they power their way along the straight, these drivers right now close as ever they'd like to be, but I can imagine they all like to be past each other and well beyond and chasing down the leaders as quickly as they can. No way to do so at the moment, as Fabian Ming, meanwhile, where he's looking around the outside of Christian Carlson in towards turn 1, but Carlson they're going defensive and therefore holding the place. But through turns 1 and 2 they go, and as they do, we take a look back to some of the chaos of the opening lap. Now this was firstly what went wrong here for Lewis Kenyon and Christian Carlson. Now they made the way out turns 7 and 8. Oh, and that's where they came together. So Carlson and what was Kenyon coming out of the corner, and well, contact between them, and it led to a bit of a ricochet. And well, we also saw there one other driver getting caught up. That was Alex Klutz who got caught up. What about Faisal Buayash? How did he end up in the gravel? Well, he was right towards the front of the field at the time, fighting for 4th place. And well, contact there with the driver behind, and well, that is what led to Buayash being sent sideways, and it all went wrong. That was Noah Rowe he carried into contact with, so that explains the drama between them. And well, a dramatic start to the race for those drivers, no doubt about it. We had this on lap number 2 for Gianmarco Speroni, and well, Speroni coming out of turn number 4 into turn number 3 in towards 4, and as he did so of his own volition, went onto the brakes, and the rear of the car just snapping loose on him and coming to a standstill. Well, it's an easy mistake to make. We've seen it plenty of times this season. The rejoin wasn't the cleanest, however everyone survived it in the end, and well, it could have been far worse, but it wasn't to be. Let's make your way back to your live racing. So we come back to plenty more live racing action here as our circuit map has decided to hide itself, so we're just going to refresh our overlay. There it goes, it's decided to reappear. We do apologise for that, and all the drivers right now continuing to hustle on. And well, whilst we have been looking at the replay footage there, well, Ellis Phillips has gradually lost Noah Roll's toe, and therefore Phillips right now holding on to 5th place versus Bjørlund, and we can see Kim-Andre Bjørlund making sure to keep it under a degree of pressure. Further back, the man who had that big side on lap number 2, Speroni at turn number 4, he tries to fight his way past Bogdan. Bogdan there holding his own, coming from turns 1 and 2. They weave and wind their way, and it's a long queue of cars all the way back to Jan Vitvar. Vitvar in 11th place. He has a 3-second gap to Christian Carlson, Carlson, Ming, Karras, Lucci, also Bogdan and Speroni, all separated by the best part of what is 2 seconds in totality. So the fight for 12th place right now is a 6-way fight. And there is nothing separating these drivers as they all try to put pressure on each other to try and outdo one another. But, of course, when you put pressure on each other and run this close, the thing about running around the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya is you are in constant dirty air, and that dirty air can cause you to make mistakes. That may be the reason why Kim-Andre Bjortland's just taken a trip to the gravel at turn number 7. And, well, now he's going back with Carl McGuinness, as McGuinness wants to get through, he wants to pass. Much like Jack Craft was able to do so, and McGuinness right now is probably saying, why don't I get the opportunity? Let me through. And Bjortland doesn't want to lose any more places here as they head in towards turn number 10. Onto the brakes they go, but we jump aboard McGuinness, and he has to wait here for the sweeping hairpin of Lakaixa. And up the hill he goes in towards turn number 11. And right now, McGuinness, for everything he's trying to throw at this, nothing is quite clicking. You've got to feel for number 11 drive. It does feel as though right now this is going to be the biggest uphill drive of his season thus far. Coming down the hill in this 4,164 I rating lobby today. A reasonable I rating for the split, no doubt about it. But right now, Carl McGuinness finding himself right in the thick of it and right in the middle of the split as he chases after Bjorland and Kraft and has Vitvar not too far behind. So a 4-way fight is starting to build for 8th place here. And McGuinness, he's the 3rd driver in this group. As Bjorland takes a little look to the inside there versus Kraft. Thinks about it, tries for a cheeky one, it puts Kraft off, and Kraft outbrakes himself in towards the opening bend. So Jack Kraft goes straight on. That's going to put him a long way down this running order. And as he takes over the sausage curves there, well, Kraft will have a slowdown, which is immediately served. And Fabian Mings picked up a slowdown of his own for track limits, which he's going to have to burn soon. Otherwise, he's going to be having that upgraded to what will be a stop-and-go penalty. And that is not something you definitely want at all. And well, he'll surely burn it here in towards turn number 4. He'll intentionally lift off the throttle nice and early, but Mings still trying to burn that slowdown, which is indicated, of course, by the yellow sash against the driver in the timing tower. But we can see there, Kraft battling with Ming here, under braking in towards turn number 4. And, well, as they come through 5, it's going to be very close. Kraft now tries to go for the cut back. And, well, Campbell Karras now gets onto the back of this and wants to play as well. And Ming does clear his slowdown just in the nick of time. And Karras close. I don't think he's going to be able to get any further involved here as they bounced away, coming out of turn 7 and 8. Towards 9. Now, what can Karras do here in terms of corner exit? Off camber corner, the car's essentially sent out sideways. You feel the whole left-hand side of the car being ejected there. And we're in the end, Karras not quite able to do anything with his position at the moment, as Bogdan and Lucci and Gianmarco Speroni are fighting just behind. There they are in a quick gaggle of cars, the trio. And Philippe Lucci, right now, he is in the more classic Porsche 992 liveried machine. He's trying to fight his way around the outside here, but Speroni's back on the inside as they come through turn number 11. A bit of elbows out there. That's going to send Lucci to the gravel. He's going to fall down the order. And Faisal Boyash, the driver who was inside the top 5 right at the start of the race, but had the instant, of course, at turn number 9. He's now on the back of Lucci, just trying to recover a place or two. And you can see that in the body language of Boyash's car and the fact he runs out of the gravel there. And, well, it's not by design. He's just pushing that hard and he wants to make the places up. But nothing right now is coming to him. And I think the frustration might be building a little bit, particularly when you qualify so well in such an intense split. And then suddenly, on the opening lap, you're sent all the way to the back of the field and you've got to do all the hard work again. Meanwhile, in the fight for 8th place, this is Kim-Andre Bjorland ahead of Carl McGuinness. McGuinness tucks back in there. I think he was thinking about doing a switchback under late braking, trying to essentially sell the dummy, but then decided against it. And Jan Vitvar, he's here. And, well, what could he do? And the answer is not too much at the moment, as the number 12 driver just waits and watches in the wing. And I think at this point he'll be trying to see where he can poke and get involved a bit more as we ride aboard with him as he heads in towards turn number 7. Ooh, goodness me! Just taking a bit too much of the circuit there and then using the grass to break the car in towards turn number 7. That's not how you do it. And Jan Vitvar in the end collected the car very well together. That was very well caught by our number 12 driver. But can you imagine if he got that wrong? That would have gone sliding across the apex of turn 7. It may have even barreled back towards McGuinness and Bjorland on corner exit. But Vitvar showed some great car control there. Well, he may not just be fast on the tarmac when he gets it right, but he's also very fast to correct things when he gets it wrong. And that's why he's one of your top split drivers here today, ladies and gents, where they really do know how to drive, even when things go completely sideways. But as he tries to make sure things are pointed to the straight and narrow, Campbell Karras, meanwhile, he's causing a big queue of cars here in the fight for 12th. He has moved his way to the head of this pack. We've got Jack Craft, Vlad Bogdan, and also Gianmarco Speroni there, and Philippe Lucci and Faisal Bouayash are also getting onto this queue as we look back from the rear of your number 12 as it goes onto its 7th tour of the circuit under race conditions. Now, heading on down, he wants to give the slipstream to everybody he can here. He wants them all to fight, and Cameron Karras has sent a message, which is you'll fight, and I'll just break away. So Jack Craft says, fine, this is what we're going to do. Vlad Bogdan, meanwhile, goes up the inside immediately here, and he tries to go for 13th place. Craft gets elbowed out slightly. Now here comes Speroni, inside to outside as they come through the corners for the drivers, and coming through turn number 3, it's going to be Speroni right up the inside there, and trying to make the magic happen, heading up towards the braking zone. And well, 2 does go into 1 corner, but will it be 2 exiting the corner together? Speroni's there, Craft to the outside still, but remember the outside of turn number 4 is a valid place to be, even though there's quite a bit of gravel and dust out there, because it does set you up for the inside into turn number 5, but there's a lot of grip on that outside line. We can see Craft, they've been pinched slightly under brake, and he does get a nose back ahead, gets the power down, tries to run Speroni out onto the exit curb there to prevent him from gaining momentum, and Jack Craft did a brilliant bit of defensive driving. Here comes Bouayash looking behind, but Lucci's the one up the inside of Speroni as they head through turn 6, 7, and up the hill in towards 8 and 9 they go, and well, we can see Speroni now having to go on the back foot defensive versus Philippe Lucci, and Lucci close, but not close enough to make that move happen, but definitely showing his intentions and causing a bit of an unsettling in this running order. But all these drivers now, they continue to fight, and of course they don't want to fight for too long, because otherwise what they'll end up doing essentially is causing this pack of what is 5 cars to split into what will be 2 smaller packs of a 2 and a 3. So that's why you can see here that Lucci and Bouayash are not fighting each other, and instead they're waiting for the drivers in front to start fighting, of which Vlad Bogdan, running slightly wide coming through turn number 11, that small mistake is definitely going to offer an opportunity for Craft and Speroni now to try and get a bit more involved. Back at the front of the field, here's a battle for 5th, and it is going to be Sergio Paulet getting ahead of Ellis Phillips. As Phillips there doesn't really fight too hard into turn number 1, lets it go there. And I think perhaps respect to the fact that naturally that move is going to happen given the way that Paulet approached it, and therefore Phillips just wants to suck back in, save a bit of fuel, also perhaps save a little bit of tyre and brake life, and therefore he can go in to be a bit more offensive later on, because we are already at the halfway point of this race. We are now on to lap number 8 of 15. These laps are very quickly trickling away, and well, tyre life has now started to become a bigger factor, whereby, of course, over the race distance, these races are approximately 25 minutes in length. These tyres will last the best part of 20 minutes, but after that, the tyres start to really wear away, and if they haven't been protected, you suddenly lose a lot of pace right at the end. But Phillips now in the chase versus Paulet. And I think he'll be thinking to himself, okay, I've got to keep this together. Well, if he makes a small mistake like that, taking the sausage curve there, coming out to turn number 8 in towards 9, that's going to cost him a 10th, and that time is gradually going to expand, not come back down. Carl McGuinness, well, he wants to chase down Kim Andre Bjorland. He was ahead of him earlier on as they battled their way to turn number 1. However, McGuinness got the worse off of the battle there, and now he's trying to chase Bjorland down whilst also keeping Vitvar at bay. And these are your final 3 drivers inside that top 10 at the moment, with a 4-second gap to Fabian Mings. We are starting to move into more pack-based racing here between what is duos and trios of drivers. And of course, you do have the wonderful quintet of Bogdan, Craft, Speroni, Lucci, and Carlson, of which Christian Carlson has passed Faisal Bouayash, and in fact we have a replay because it's all gone wrong for Faisal Bouayash even more so, and here is the replay. Now this was heading down towards turn number 1. He's already been in the gravel once today and under braking into the opening corner. Big lock up there for Bouayash and goes onto the gravel again. Did rejoin gradually, but not about losing the place to Christian Carlson, and Bouayash just having a very bad day at the office, it would seem. As we make our way back to your live racing, well, lap number 9 comes up very quickly, and at the very front of the field, it is Gunther Stellen, who right now is in control of this race ahead of Philip Hammer, and Hammer was second place to what was none other than Berlecke and the German circuit last time out, and well, he's going to be second place again to a different driver today if this continues, but our top 3 are our top 3 iRacing drivers in this split, and well, therefore they're living up to their door numbers, you could say, as Gareth Higgins here in number 3 right now would love to catch up. He is lapping at the same pace as Philip Hammer. In fact, in that previous lap, he was a tenth faster. But as we do show you the relative lap time history between these 2 drivers, what you'll see very quickly is that over these laps, Hammer and Higgins, they've been exchanging lap time between each other, and well, Higgins in the end, He was the faster of the two drivers on the previous lap, but in the laps before that it was Hammer who was faster. But then again, Higgins might now be getting into the race, because we do know that Higgins has a tendency to drive quite conservatively in the earlier stages of the race and gradually build up the pace towards the end. Hammer is the tyre whisperer. He normally has a very consistent pace over the entire distance, even if it's not the fastest, whereas Higgins is more slow start, fast end to the race, which is a bit different from many who try to go for a fast start and then a slower end, but he definitely goes the other way around as Higgins, and that's why your top three are so much clearer compared to the rest of the field, because Noah Roel, he's in fourth on his debut. And as he makes his way down the start finish straight here, the number 10 driver, a one-place gain since the very start, unfortunately did have that contact with Bo Ayash, and definitely a little bit of controversy there, I'm sure, although they'll talk about it after the race. And we can see our number 10 driver right now try to keep Sergio Poulet and Ellis Phillips behind all the way to that final checkered flag. But Wojtek Zdorwak, whereas we can see here, the driver who's currently in 7th, he's in a bit of a lonely run of the race. And hold up a second, there's been a bit of drama. Jan Vitvar has found his way past Carl McGuinness. Now, I think McGuinness might have made an error of some description, because he's dropped to 10th, and well, there's no visible sign of any damage on the car. We'll come to that in short order, as we've got to focus a bit more on this fight for 13th, as that's a twitch in the rear of the picture from Gianmarco Speroni. But Kraft holding on to the place of 13th as Vlad Bogdan, well, he continues to attack absolutely aggressively here. And these two right now absolutely locking horns lap after lap. Bogdan wants to get them through, but Kraft right now has proven to be a bit of a fly in the ointment, while the lowest iRacing drivers in this split fighting with another of the lower ones. And they're in an absolutely brilliant ding-dong battle at this trio, as is Felipe Lucci is a bit further behind and isn't getting involved at this time. Gianmarco Speroni, he really is driving on the right limit of what the car and his abilities will allow, and what's absolutely brilliant to see. Oh, goodness me, taking a lot of apex curve there at turn number 9. The car practically turning on the curb, and well, Speroni there having to lift off the front and point the steering straight and hope that the car would grip back up as he gets so close to the back of Vlad Bogdan's car, taps it on the rear very slightly, takes some of the paint with it, and Bogdan now onto the inside in towards turn number 11, goes defensive there. Speroni would not have wanted that to happen. That's going to cause the two of them to fight now as they come out 11. It's going to enable Kraft to pull quite a bit of a gap between them and gain 3 attempts as they come down through turn number 11. It's an absolutely dicey battle back and forth between these drivers, given the fact that if one battles with the other, it will let the leader go and vice versa. But they all come out the final corner, all run slightly wide onto the gravel, all pick up and off track. And oh, it does seem as though for Speroni, Bogdan and Kraft, they are going to be in this fight to the very end. The fight for 13th for them will feel as though it's a battle to be the winner of their group, and indeed a win of the race for them in their minds. But as they head on to the 11th tour of the circuit, well, Speroni takes plenty of apex curve, plus a bit of sausage curve for good measure. And well, Bogdan avoiding those sausage curves, a much smoother drive, and does seem to be in a bit more control. And Kraft, well, he's just making sure that these two fight each other and not him as they get ready to go onto the brakes. But underneath the gantry board they go, and we can see there Felipe Lucci at 1.2 seconds behind. Isn't really close enough to get involved here, but he is close enough to witness what's going on. And that might give him a bit of confidence later on that he might be able to get involved as they make their way through the turn 5 hairpin. But whilst they do that, we need to take a look back at a little bit of drama that happened only months ago, and this was Jan Vitvar versus Carl McGuinness. Now, this was down into turn number 1. McGuinness was ahead at the time. What exactly happened to him? Big lock up at the braking, goes straight on, but manages to avoid going into the gravel trap. He just has to take this. Oh, my good Lord, and Carl McGuinness there. Well, 10 out of 10 for the landing from Carl McGuinness, but the suspension of that number 11 can't be feeling anywhere near as comfortable as it used to be, because that was a big leap into the air, and Jan Vitvar in the end gaining the place as Carl McGuinness decided to get some airtime, both on your TV screens and also into the literal air with the car. But back to your live racing we go. And as we do, well, we have had Vlad Bogdan have a moment. Oh, goodness me, that is Bogdan on turn number 11 as he goes to rejoin. That's not where you want to be. How on earth has he ended up there? Well, we don't know, but what we do know is we've got a replay to explain. We'll come to that replay shortly, because we've got a battle for 4th place now that's definitely reaching the centre of our screens. And it is going to be Noah Rael, who, as he roars his way all the way round from turns 1, 2 and 3, Sergio Poulet and Ellis Phillips have closed up. They've definitely found a way to get under this man's skin a little bit in terms of being nice and tight to him, and we could have a 3-way fight here for the first spot off the podium. Well, as they come out of turn number 4, no change at the moment. The leaders are well clear at this point, so you can understand if our lead drivers at the moment, they're just settling in and trying to get to the end of this race and wonder if anyone's going to make any mistakes. But in these 3, there is no time for mistakes. There's no time for thinking. It's just do or die, literally, in terms of holding on to this position and finishing inside that top 5. And that's where you can see the rear of the car sliding around everywhere as they're absolutely attacking the tarmac here in Spain. And after this one, they've only got 3 more laps to go. With all this as it happened, we have a quick replay then of how Vlad Bogdan dropped down the order. And here it is, because at the time he was fighting quite hard, fighting for the right to be just at the bottom end outside the top 10. And well, lost the rear there, just ahead of the number 16 of Gianmarco Speroni. But Bogdan lost it of his own accord, coming through turn number 11, overturned the car as he rotated through the bend, and lost a few of the places that he gained earlier on in the race. We also did have this for Lewis Kenyon, only moments later, albeit multiple laps down. And Kenyon right now with a repaired car, just trying to get to the end of the race in order to finish it and feel satisfied with a finish of the race. But went straight on there at turn number 10. And for Lewis Kenyon, it's going from good to bad to worse. But back to your race to be Carbon in good time as well, because onto lap 13 they go. Noel right now holding on as Sergio Paulet reweaves left, right and centre, and in the end looks to go around the outside. 2 wide to go to turn number 1. It's going to be a good move here from Roel in defending if he can pull this off, but Paulet's all the way around the outside. It's going to be 2 wide all the way around through turn number 3. And here comes Phillips as well. He wants to try and get involved, but he's not close enough here as they head up towards turn number 4. Roel still on the inside, Paulet around the outside. Can they go 2 wide towards turn number 5? If so, well, they would have the inside into the hairpin, and that would be a huge opportunity, but he decides to take the safer approach. Back off and tuck in, but Raul now can just defend that inside line. It's going to dive to the inside there. Opens up the steering wheel, does Raul at the last possible moment. Sergio Paulet there throws the car at the situation and says, right, you're going to either have to give me the space or we're both going around together. And Paulet, in the end, by being forceful, gets ahead a brief moment through turn number 7. Up the hill they go. Under still pressure now as they rise the ranks up towards turn number 9. We look back for the rear of the new leader in this freeway battle for full place. Sergio Paulet absolutely on point in this battle, but as he gets his foot down now and absolutely tries to hold on in towards turn number 10 they come. And well, here comes Noel looking around the outside, 2 wide through the left-hander. And right now Sergio Paulet, as quick as he's good at offense, he's also very good at going onto the defense. But here comes a move. Raul says, you sent it on me earlier on, I'm going to give you as good as you've given me. And as they come out of the corner, big slide, Raul goes sideways there and just about catches it. And Sergio Paulet will take that 4th place just about as they get ready to go to the penultimate lap. But it's not over yet, because here comes Ellis Phillips up the inside of Noel. And Raul, with that small slide, suddenly loses 2 places at the price of 1 mistake. But goodness me, what a battle for the entirety of lap number 13 between Sergio Paulet and Noel. That was absolutely fantastic. And Raul is not done yet. He wants that 5th place back as a minimum. He's going to go for it. But Ellis Phillips says, you won't beat me on the brakes because I'm going to beat you into turn 1. Wojciech Dvorak, meanwhile, he's holding on to 7th here as he's got Kim André Bjorlund who's closed up behind rather rapidly. Jan Vitvar is also there with them, and Carl McGuinness would love to be part of this, but he's 3.5 seconds back. And after his airborne theatrics earlier on, I can imagine he's trying to nurse that car all the way to the finish. Definitely a very heavily wounded car at that. But into the braking zone they come for turn number 4. Will we see a bit of an opening here between these drives or not? Well, right now, at least, it does seem as though Dvorak is holding on, but 3 tenths is the gap there to Bjorlund, and at any moment, that 3 tenths could suddenly turn to 0. But off they come from turn number 5. You can see Bjorlund there with a much better corner exit, able to get the power down sooner and really nailing his apex speed and the rotation, whereas Dvorak straight lining off the corner, in fact understeering out a little bit with early throttle input, so it does mean losing that time. And Bjorlund right now close, but not quite close enough as we jump on board as they come out to turn number 9 in towards 10. Here's an opportunity, could go for it on the brakes. You can see Dvorak going absolutely defensive. Bjorlund brakes a bit earlier there. What he tries to do here is tries to go for the cutback, and in the end, Dvorak parks on the apex after getting it all snaky under braking. And Bjorlund goes in close, but in the end gets right on the rear of his rival and stays right there. Right now, Dvorak is practically parking the car at every apex here because that's all he's got at this point. Bjorlund right now is absolutely gnashing away at the rear of his rival. And as they head down through 12 and in towards 13, well, Dvorak takes a lot of speed into the corner. Does he run wide? No, he does get it together. That's a lovely run there. Goes defensive down the straight, pulls to the pit wall. Bjorlund now tucks into the tyre immediately. We're on to the final lap, and well, the battles to finish inside the top 5 and all the way through the top 10 are definitely now at the crescendo here. Bjorlund not close enough to look for the move. You can see there Wittvar also looking to make it 3 wide, but in the end they all stagger and go diagonal. Ellis Phillips, he's on to 5th versus Noah Rails. We look to this battle for a brief moment, coming out to turn number 3, with Sergio Paulet having broken away to a small degree. And, well, these drivers are onto the brakes. No change at the moment. Then we have Dvorak. He's still got Bjorlund with him. And Wittvar looking up the inside. Wittvar goes to the move. It's not quite enough. In the end, he's too far back, but he tries to get into the head of his rivals. But neither one of them flinches here. This could be a game of just putting them under mental pressure, as that's a lot of oversteer there coming out to turn number 4. Wittvar almost loses it. Bjorlund does lose it. He outbrakes himself. He locks up, and Wittvar does take the place, but Wittvar, to be fair, almost lost it his own accord, and Wojciech Dvorak here just needs to make sure he doesn't put a foot wrong. He may be able to hold on to this 7th place by just simply staying out of trouble. Further back, Campbell Karras versus Fabian Ming, 2 wide through the corners here, coming through turns 7 and 8. And right now, Karras practically trying to ride alongside his rival. But we can see Ming, they're going absolutely defensively on through. But we have to leave them, ladies and gents, because out of the final corner, for good Tasselden, it's another day at the office. And it is going to be victory here today at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for the Turkish driver by 3.6 seconds over Philipp Hammer, who adds another 2nd place to his retinue. And then it will be 14 seconds behind for Gareth Higgins, who returns to the podium with a 3rd place finish here, and a great effort for the Briton. We'll then have 4 seconds back to Sergio Paulet, who survived the fight to 4th in a brilliant dicey battle between himself, Ellis Phillips, who finishes 5th, and Noah, who takes 6th for the end. And then we will have in 7th Wojciech Dvorak, who holds on despite the intense pressure from Jan Wittvar and Kim Andre Bjorlund. And then we'll have Carl McGuinness, who finishes in a solitary 10th place, but well done to him for keeping that car alive after his excursion earlier on. Campbell Karras did get the upper hand of Fabian Ming right at the close in the battle for 11th place. We're going to replay of that shortly, with Gianmarco Speroni in 13th ahead of Jack Craft, and then Philippe Lucci 15th ahead of Faisal Bourayash, who started in 4th but finished 16th. What a frustrating race for him. And then it will be Vlad Bogdan ahead of Christian Carlson, with Alex Klotz the last of the lead lap finishers, and a lap down in the end for Lewis Kenyon. But we get a quick replay, ladies and gentlemen, of that battle for what was 11th place in the end, and this was Campbell Karras coming out to turn 9, looking up the absolute inside of Fabian Ming. He was there into the braking zone. It was going to be a relatively straightforward look up the inside. Ming then tried to go for what was the cutback there, but in the end Karras, well, he got it absolutely nailed, got the power back on, and Ming was powerless to respond, and that's how their battle concluded further down, as we had to leave it because of our leader coming to the checkered flag. But as we say hello there to Zach Haight, who says, a couple of folks missing today, but good race and absolutely enjoyed it. Glad you did, Zach. And well, we do apologise for the technical issues right as we're about to go green flag racing, ladies and gents. We're good at Tasselton here, down at his cool down lap, and definitely we don't see him too often, to be fair, in the strength of field or top split broadcasted races, but when we do see him go all in for the win, and today he was absolutely faultless to a T as he heads in towards the pit lane to celebrate his victory. But let's take a look to the scenic view then, and with it the race results, and here they are, ladies and gentlemen, subject to any Stewart inquiries from what was our week number 5 top split broadcasted strength of field race for the 2025 Season 4 campaign of the iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. And as we can see, Gunther Stellen, the privateer, taking the victory by 3.6 seconds in the end over pole promotion esports Philipp Hammer, who once again finishes 2nd, but keeps the leader honest. Gareth Higgins, a Team 75 burn-up by Sim RC. Well, he was 3rd place there, quite a bit off the pace of the top 2, but for him, the most important thing is he got the job done and managed to finish in 3rd, ahead of Sergio Paulet, who was 4th place and had to fight hard for it, the Spaniard at his home circuit, digging in deep to make sure he was ahead of Ellis Phillips, who was on his debut, as was Noah, with the 2 debutants there having a brilliant fight for what was 4th, 5th and 6th, but it went the way of Paulet ahead of Phillips and Roel. From the Danish driver, it was then the 2 Czechia drivers of Wojciech Dvorak and also Jan Wittvar, and both drivers there putting on great displays, and they should be proud of themselves, with Kim Andre Bjorlund in 9th place there. The Norwegian driver, Sim Racing Norway, really having to fight hard to take that 9th place, and he'll be gutted not to move further up the order. Carl McGuinness, a 10th place there, right in the middle of the pack for Pole Sim Racing. He'll be happy with that one, but he'll be wondering what he could have done if he hadn't have had that moment in the air at the sausage curves of turn number 1, with Camel Karras a length for enemy number 1, and we was best the rest there in his hard-fought fight with the rest of the pack of the field. So he definitely did fight, firstly with Fabian Ming, who took 12 for Pole Sim Racing, but also along the way with the likes of Gianmarco Speroni, Jack Craft, and Philippe Lucci, who round off your top 15, and then we did see Faisal Bouayash in 16th place, but the Lebanese driver in the end starting 4th, but a frustrating lap number 1 was from demoted all the way down. Vlad Bogdan, he was fighting for a top 15 finish, but had to settle for 17th after a wayward error, and then it was Christian Carlson ahead of Alex Klotz on your lead lap, and 5 laps down, but still seeing the checker flag. Well done to him, Lewis Kenyon. And that's how our top 20 drivers finished. So only 20 drivers here today, and well, 20 starters, 20 finishers, 19 on the lead lap. But that brings all our racing at the Circuit de Barcelona-Catalunya for this top split broadcasted event to a close. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, just as we do get ready to wrap up, let's tell you a little bit more about our title sponsor for this series. And of course, that is CONSPIT. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider CONSPIT? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, CONSPIT offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, CONSPIT's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 AM Cup champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in CONSPIT's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, our time in Spain concludes, and we make our way next week to the Michelin Raceway at Road Atlanta, or in other words, America's roller coaster for road racing. It's got to be seen to be believed, and there we will see in the US state of Georgia who is the ultimate adrenaline junkie in these Porsche 992 GT3 Cup cars. Tune in next week for week number 6 top split race on Wednesday the 22nd of October 2025, and we'll see how the story of the season continues. But until then, this has been the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, like our drivers, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.